Jai Hind and welcome to Dev Talks. This is Aadi. The Chinese economy, like every other economy in the world, is facing a little bit of a brunt. Now, when I say little, it can mean a lot many things. To understand that meaning of that word that I used, I have with me Lieutenant General Ravi Shankar to decipher how little is little or how big is little. Because the Chinaman in the world's eyes is 10 feet tall. The reality, something that I leave it to you. Sir, thank you so much for joining me for I think a follow-on discussion from our many other discussions on the Chinese economy and the impact that will have.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Adi, for calling me over on the show once again. It's a pleasure and a nice hello to all the viewers. Um, the Chinese economy is in trouble. Let's not say little, big, and all metaphors. It is in trouble. Okay, and we had predicted this long back. In fact, all my writings and all our discussions, we spoke of the effect of zero COVID. We spoke of the effect of isolation. We also spoke of the effect of relocation of supply chains. All that plus the CCP attitude, making zero COVID into a political game, all this is happening, right? We also said that the coronavirus will take its toll on China. Okay, Chinese are not, like you said, neither are they 10 feet tall or they born corona, resistant.
Yeah.
Okay, and so we need to understand that what is happening today in China happened 2 years back with us, or a year and a half back with the rest of the world. The important thing, this is the major point of the analysis which I'm putting ahead of everything. For 2 years, we struggled. China looked ahead of the game. But in reality, China was also being dragged down by the rest of the world. Okay. In comparison, it seemed as if China was from a different atmosphere.
Yeah,
today, the rest of the world is recovering. China is getting dragged down. It's going to get dragged down and ultimately end up below where the rest of the world evens out. I'm not talking of India, I'm not talking of USA, I'm talking of the rest of the world. The rest of the world has exhibited a great ability to cope with the coronavirus. China has not, and it's paying a price for it. And it'll be a huge price politically and geopolitically. So now let's discuss their economy.
Indeed, I'd actually like to take people's minds to the photographs that came out of Xi Jinping's recent visit to Hong Kong. When you see Indian leaders walking around, I mean, I don't see masks at all. And Xi Jinping was following social distancing and this and that and everything. Nice to put across a figure, but it also shows you a little bit of a nervousness that the leadership has with regards COVID. And now there are reports that he's been missing for 14 days. So that's a whole different story altogether. Let's talk about the Q2 numbers that have come out, early this morning, sir. As a matter of fact, I had kept my notifications on SEMP because the update came somewhere early morning. It was 0.4%.
Yeah.
How do you see this from the fastest growing economy to this and that? How do you see this whole thing?
Well, firstly, it's not a surprise that it is so low. That it is low, it was expected. Because of the Shenzhen lockdown, Beijing lockdown, and almost the whole country under lockdown for corona. This was an expected fallout. What is not expected is that they thought that the fall will be up to 1.1%. That China would still be growing at 1.1%. It's come down to 0.4%, which is published. Right? The actual figures would be a contraction. As simple as that. And we know Chinese cook up their figures, right? So you give 0.5% to 1% Chinese thing, then you're down 0.5%. Okay, so it's a contraction. Let's not this thing, and it has major ramifications. And the problem in the banking sector, the problem in the real estate sector reflected squarely. We can discuss that also.
Indeed, sir. I think it's going to send shockwaves through the thing because China is pretty interconnected to the world, and whatever said and done, it's going to affect us. Let's talk about the real estate, as you mentioned, sir, which is supposed to be the biggest asset of the Chinese. Uh, China got rich on its land, and now is it that the Chinese are going to go poor because of the same land?
See, we don't know whether they're going to go poor or rich, okay? But they're going to go through pain. Look, this is great. First and foremost, we have to understand that the Chinese view a home as a great social security status. Uh, Majority of Chinese savings goes into a home. Now, in the past 10, 15, 20 years, real estate prices have been going up. They've been shooting up, right? And people have been putting their lives earning into that. That's the first part. So when the real estate crash took place, when the Evergrande crisis broke out about 6 months back, October, November last year, that's when it started surfacing. A lot of people lost their money. Overnight, a guy was saying, okay, I'll put my money in a flat, it'll appreciate, and then I'm safe for life and all that. You also have to look into the fact that most of China has one-child families, right? Aging society. They want security in a system where there's no social security. It's not a developed economy like, the West and, this thing where you have a social security number, you walk into a hospital and you get treated, things like that. Aging society, all this. A house has got a huge social value. That started evaporating when the Evergrande crisis came up. Okay, today you're faced with a situation where across 60, 70 cities, 80, 100 projects, when you say a project, it's a township. Okay, people are not paying their mortgages. The flats which they book, they can't afford or they don't want. Or it's because of the crash. Earlier, you wanted to buy it at 100 rupees. Today, you can buy it at 50 rupees. So they say, why should I pay? I mean, there are a whole lot of things which have happened. Right? So the real estate is going to be a social problem. Okay, when the bank protests broke out, you could send people, beat people up and disperse them. What do you do for people who don't pay mortgages? They might not be paying mortgages because they don't want to pay. Some might be not paying mortgages because they can't pay. So how do you finish those housing and all that? And what is reported multiplied by 4 to 5 times? That will be the national figure. And then the contagion which will spread if this is not contained. So does China have the money to revive this? Difficult. Now look at it from the other point of view. Real estate goes down, cement sector goes down, textile sector goes down, services sector goes down, roads, the parks, so many people who get livelihood go down, electric fitment, a house has so many things, are all gone. Right? Now, connected with this, the infrastructure. China is in for an infrastructure boost to revive its economy. High-speed rails and this and that. As it is, those high-speed rails are not paying. All this is not my imagination. It is reported in Chinese media. These are the issues from Chinese media. So where do they go? That infrastructure will not take off. They've lost the economy of scale between infrastructure and real estate. Cement, steel, etc., etc. Connectivity is between two places. If those places are not going to be inhabited, what's the use of connectivity? What good will it do? So, and depending on which, kind of a magazine or a outlook or a economist you read, anything between 15 to 30% is the share of real estate in the Chinese GDP. Okay. So that's in a mess with this mortgage business coming out. Okay. Now add to this the fact that big tech is being hit badly. After all, this we discussed 3 months back, 4 months back, that big tech has been hit, real estate has been hit. Okay. And population, all these same factors. Then the factors are not different, the same factors. Big tech has been hit, hiring has gone down. They say in today's report, they say Shenzhen, which is supposed to be a boom town, people are going for jobs at half rates. There you get experienced people at half rates of what you gave, say, 1 year back. And new entrants are not getting a job. So if all this is happening, how will people pay back their mortgages? There are fundamental issues which are happening, right? So the real estate plus big tech is anything between 40 to 50% of Chinese GDP. If this goes down, how do you think Chinese GDP will go into double figures? Forget double figures. Will it cross 3%, 4% in the whole year? 4% is what they're hoping. If this continues, and this is not going to continue, there's got this thing. There's another article which has come out again in South China Morning Post, where they analyze that there is going to be a 17% slump in real estate sales till 2025. We're talking another 3 years ahead. 17% is what they're predicting today. Okay? They would be very conservative about the whole affair. So what will be the actuality? So, I mean, it's tough for to see China recover the way it used to recover. And I mean, let me give you another thing. I read another article again in South China Morning Post. It's a very funny article, but it has got its value. There's this author, he says, I will be very careful before I put my pedal on the accelerator and burn up more fuel. Because in the past, say 5-6 months, China has increased fuel prices by 10 times it has increased fuel prices. So that's pinching. Like it has pinched us, it is pinching them also. Because there he says we should go for electronic vehicles and this and that, but that's a dream. Right now, that is all far. It's not as if China will switch over to electric vehicles overnight. So the fuel prices are hitting them. Food is a problem. They started importing rice from India, which they never did. Then strategically, they never wanted to be dependent on India for any food grain, and they started importing. For whatever reason, there is a problem in China which most of us, conditioned to the information warfare, which is and the influence operations carried out by China and its backers, we feel that China is infallible. It is a huge thing. It's going to overtake USA and all that. But it is not so. That's what I've been saying from a long time. It's not a superpower. So this is real estate. What's the next we should discuss? Banks?
Yeah, let's talk about that. But before I come to that, so when you talk about something like this, let's say 40% of the economy being in a little bit of a tandem, what does it do to the internal confidence of the Chinese people within their economy? Because whatever said and done, things grow with the momentum, right? When the momentum is slow, what?
It shakes confidence completely.
It has to be a shocker for many people who've been...
Look, first and foremost, there's a political risk in this whole story.
They've been given so much of indoctrination that we are the greatest. Now suddenly we are hitting a speed bump.
Suddenly, yeah. Actually, we'll discuss this with the banks because that's got more relevance.
Let's take that up. So we saw this amazing report, which I never saw the thought that I will see from China, at least in the near future, of protests. We know that China has lots of protests, but the news never comes out. And here it was being reported by every mainstream media in the world. People getting beaten up. Banks don't have money. Some people say 6 billion. Some people say 8 billion. What's happening? And how does this, as I said, affect the social fabric?
See, Okay, before we come to the social fabric, let's see why these banks have gone bust.
Yes.
Okay, this is not the first four banks in Henan which have gone bust. Last year there were small banks which went bust, but at that time the Chinese economy, the larger economy was stable, so they could stop it. And the real estate was not in the situation it is. Okay, there are two things in this which get connected to these banks. First, all local governments, their main source of money is land. So, for example, if say Bangalore or Chennai or Delhi was an independent government, how does Chennai make money? It makes money by selling land, because land is of the government. It makes money on taxes. It makes money on all the services which are provided for that land to be developed. Okay, so land property development is a huge revenue earner for the local governments in China. Not that it is not there in India also. In India also it is the same corporation taxes, sewerage tax and electricity and all that. It is an earner. There's no doubt about it. But there they make money out of it.
Main source.
One of the main sources, because the central locations are not that much. Okay. So the banks would have lent money to these developers. Then the developers have taken money from, say, flat owners or prospective flat owners, right? So taking money from the prospective flat owners, they are repaying the banks. Okay. But the thing in China is the developer takes the money upfront on booking of the flat. It is not with the construction. The entire money of the flat is with the chap at the beginning only. So he's got all the money. He's taken money from the local bank to buy the land. And what the owner gives or the flat buyer gives is supposed to repay. But in the gap between the payment and collection, he's got that kitty of money which he's spending somewhere else and investing somewhere else. So he is doing his side investments to make more money. I mean, it's a game of profit, greed and profit. And some of them are speculators and crooks. That's a different story. Now, what happens when your property prices fall, your cement prices go up, steel prices go up, inflation, all that happens. Okay. A guy like me who owns a flat can't afford it because I don't have a job. So I can't pay my mortgage, which I've taken a loan to pay this guy. I can't service my mortgage. That mortgage forecloses. What do they foreclose on? On the property chap. That guy can't pay the bank. It's the same bank. From the mortgage is taken to the same bank, and the property is also bought through the same bank by the property developer. It is, that movie Big Shot? It is something like that.
Yeah.
This is in a miniature form which is happening. It's a catch-22 situation, right? So everything comes to the bank. Now, I have taken money as a mortgage, which is normal. I want a loan, I take a collateral. No, I give a house papers and take loan and use that for some other thing and repay. That's the normal mode. So I've taken the mortgage on my, say, deposits, example. So I go to the bank and say, here, please give me back. That fellow says, you pay the mortgage, otherwise you not give. Otherwise also I don't have money to give because all his money is for the developer. The developer has built nothing. It's all somewhere the run of the money, the flow of money has been stuck. So the bank has no money. And many nefarious guys in the bank sector have gone. They would have drawn money through get-rich schemes. So that is why you saw these 4 banks, people demonstrating, because they know they're not going to get money. And then what has happened? People have been beaten up and people have been taken to police stations and people have been told not to demonstrate. People have they have that system of red, green, yellow status, health status in their mobile. All these fellows have been put in red so that they can't demonstrate. Again, this is not my imagination. This is reported in the past 48 to 72 hours in South China Morning Post. with
The
references, and on which I've written an article today also. So a peek into everyday China. So where do you go? Where is the public confidence? And those guys are being paid. They said, okay, we will give you some 1/20th of what your deposit is. So what about the rest of the money? This is only the tip of the iceberg. What happens 4-5 more events like this happen? If the property sector is under stress, this will happen. So tech sector, property sector, finance sector, all are interlinked. Now, if all this happens at the bottom, the macro problem of the macro debt, all the ghosts will come out of the cities and hang around China, and the complete debt bubble of China will collapse. These are the things which might happen. I don't know whether they'll happen or not. I don't know how China is going to control this. Okay. So when you have a GDP which is falling and you want to build the biggest army on earth, you want to go to space, you want to go here, you want to go there, you want to own the entire Pacific Islands. I mean, all those funny things. You want to buy 20 aircraft carriers. These are all committed liabilities on which money is being paid. You can't stop it. So where does that leave the economy? Okay, this is one part of the story. What happens? Let's take Sri Lanka. Okay. Sri Lanka, they say, 7 or 10 or 20, $30 billion to China. Will Sri Lanka ever give them one naya paisa? That's a haircut. People say it's a sovereign bond. People, they'll Sri Lanka में कौन से sovereign को पकड़ोगे? वो जो sovereign जिसको whom you could catch is already in Singapore. The new guy will say, I don't know anything. He will say, you give me more money, then we'll see. Because Sri Lanka wants money, which China doesn't have. That if China had money and it had the thing, they would have already helped Sri Lanka out.
True.
Same thing has happened in Angola, which we spoke last week. I mean, fundamentally, the model is the same. You put your money all over the world, which is not going to come back to you. The influences are no value to you. What is happening in Pakistan? Is Pakistan of any use to China or any other beast today?
Except irritating India, nothing else.
Huh?
Except irritating India, nothing else. Sir.
No, forget that. What can it do?
Otherwise, nothing.
Nothing. So all your overseas investments are at risk. Okay, your overseas investments are at risk, right? Your internal thing is economy is shaky. Recovery is, see, okay, if it is shaky for one. But what is the chance of recovery?
That, yes. That is the main question.
Main question. Where will they go?
So that is
will
what
they go to Europe? Europe is against them.
America.
Will they go? Where will they go? Africa में तो Angola के साथ खत्म हो गया. इंडिया में आएंगे क्या? पाकिस्तान में तो जो मिल रहा है उनको. Where will they go with their economy?
China spoke about internal consumption, sir.
Yeah, how will they consume? You've seen internal consumption. See, I've spoken today, I've given you an example. A chap has started writing, I will not go drive fast because I shouldn't consume more fuel. That's the pinch they're feeling. They can't buy flats. Their internal consumption has gone down. Okay. So, what internal consumption are we talking of? Infrastructure, they can't. It's a dead end. Already their high-speed rails are running at loss. What will they construct for what? They don't have food security. They don't have energy security. I mean, look, everything looks rosy when the going is good.
Yeah.
Okay. What happens when things start going bad? Do you have the resilience to absorb it? See, again, let's put it in contrast. 2 years back, everyone said America is declining, finished, yay, whoa, all that. Is that happening? They have had the resilience to come back. I remember it was in January or February, one of the prime economists of the CCP had said that the day when Chinese economy will overtake the
Ah,
US economy is going farther away. It's not coming closer. How true
last
it
name
is.
Lau, if I'm not mistaken, sir.
I don't remember. That somehow that sentence has not left my mind. How true it is.
He's a former
Right?
finance minister or something like that.
Okay. So there is something which happening which we need to understand.
So,
Okay. China is in a bit of a pain at this point of time. I'll put it this way.
so the internal economy. Let's talk about that. You hinted on the military machine, and considering the factor that let's look at it from the Chinese perspective. Okay, let's not look at it from an opposing Chinese perspective. The US is fingering us in terms of kind of raising tensions with Taiwan, talking about independence and this and that, and there is problems with the Senkaku. We have to do a lot of things. How do we spend on that entire system now? What do we cut?
So I agree with you. When you say this, I agree with you completely. But you have to see the history of China. In 62, when they're having famine, the grape clip Ford was failing, Mao invaded India. Okay. He externalized the situation. My view is that one shouldn't connect their geopolitics with their internal economy or
Okay.
their external economy.
Mhm.
Okay. One of the ways to flip this whole thing is to use the military. If the military makes way through, say, a victory, either by capturing Taiwan or capturing a strategic piece of land along the LAC and holding India off, then people will say China is great. And it
Confidence.
makes them, huh?
Confidence.
Then, yeah, confidence. And then they'll tell others, we can do this to India, we can do this to Taiwan, despite USA. Watch out, we are the best. So, the
Hmm.
a weak economy is not necessarily a weak nation. And if the Russia-Ukraine thing has taught us anything, we need to understand economy has a limit in power play
In
and
impact.
geopolitics. Beyond that, it is the military comes into play.
I think that's a
Okay,
fantastic argument, sir.
right? And it is the military which will recoup your losses. See how did the British Dominion enlarge? How did the US reach enlarge? Military. It was the military which gave the base for these to expand. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been what they are.
True.
So they are investing in that. I mean, one should be very clear that this is going to happen. Yeah. So when you look at a superpower or any great power, there are 3, 4 components of this power. One is military power, one is economic power. Both have to act in tandem with each other. So if your economic power is going down, a way to revive that power is through your military power. And that is what China will attempt to do. It will force people to and coerce people to accept its form of economics to revive itself through its military power.
Hmm.
How it will do, we have to see. Manifestations already there. It wants to establish a base in the Pacific Islands. It wants to establish a base in Angola. It wants to establish, or Taiwan, South China Sea in the southern part. It is making its forays to Malaysia. It is making its forays to Indonesia, even Philippines. It is blatantly telling everyone to keep US off. It is telling everyone, look, we are your neighbors, not US. Okay. So there are already indications of that fact that they are prepared to use their military muscle. They've shown their second aircraft carrier, the third aircraft carrier. Every day, some news comes out that they have the biggest tanker, some biggest plane, some biggest AI, something biggest, which is going to change the shape of warfare.
Mm.
For someone who doesn't understand all this, it makes an impact. Okay. So I think it's time most of us who are in this business of analysis have to now start focusing on the military capabilities of China a little more closely.
Mhm.
And we in India have no choice.
Actually. Mm. So I want to ask you a simple question, and I think this is a pure economics question that's, one can very easily understand. You've got no money with you. You've got foreign reserves, fair enough, but you've got a money crunch right now. You've got investments, 2, 3, 4 trillion dollars all across the world with regards to your BRI. You've got dead projects like Pakistan, where about 30 billion, Sri Lanka about 6 billion, Angola about 6 or 8 billion, I think, gone down the tube. So that, if you look at it, it's almost about 45, $50 billion, which is up in the stake. This is just an example. You've got the entire BRI to Europe going through Ukraine. You've got Italy going down the tube. They've got so many, everywhere Chinese tentacles have gone, there is an issue at the end of it. That's what I'm trying to get at. You invest so that you get some returns. I don't see China getting the returns from its BRI. Isn't that money that has been invested into BRI coming out of these same very banks that are failing today? And when will the impact of BRI start affecting these banks and domestic liquidity, sir?
Look, that's the next step.
Mm.
Okay, let us see the next step. It will come out clear how China is able to manage. China can manage. It's a different kind of a state where the banks and the government are one and the same.
Mm.
It's not like any other democracy where the banking sector is insulated from the government. And it's not like the Reserve Bank of India, which can say, sorry, I'll not do this even if the government says something, to a point at least. There they just have to follow. So they have a lot of leeway to switch their accounts. They would be doing actively. But even that has a limit. At what stage will the whole thing burst is the $1 million question.
That is the game. So now, last thing that I'd like to ask you is about the impact of Chinese image. And economics is all about a partnership or a agreement between two individuals to begin with. It may be heads of state of two countries or just two guys on the street. The image has taken a tank, and how do you think this will further impact? Because it's like a shopkeeper without customers.
I mean, look, we discussed this again in the last episode. Its global influence is waning.
Yeah.
That's the image, isn't it? Sri Lanka will become I feel going forward, the Sri Lanka episode and the Angola model will come into focus whenever China is discussed.
I think yes. Yeah, absolutely. That's a
Right.
very important thing. Yes, sir.
Angola model for whatever at the end of the day, they've said, please get out of this place. A government has said, please get out of this place. Here, you supported a government which was thrown out. And then you have not made a single effort also to help them.
Yeah.
You can't. You're in a situation where you probably can't help. And Chinese being the hard-headed guys they know that they'll not get any returns out of that. So they're stuck. So let us see how it goes. But the image as of today, They'll talk big. They'll continue to talk big. A big country like China will this thing. Yeah, one thing which we have not factored in all this, and which has come out through tweets and all that, and through the data leak which happened, which actually undercuts all these stories, is their population.
Hmm.
As per that data which has leaked, and Yi Fuxian, who's a professor in Minnesota, he says the Chinese population is already 1.28 you know, billion, and it's not 1.4. Even if you say in between, it is only say
1.38.
1.32 or
32.
32 or whatever.
Yes, sir.
132, whatever. No, he said 1.28
Hmm.
as against 1.4. So 12, 0.12 is a difference. So you add 6 to this, 1.38, 1.34, 1.28 plus 1.34. 6 million people or 60 million people off roster is a huge hit, because those 60 million people are those people who are not born. The people who are born are old. The people who are not born are young. The people who are not born, 60 wouldn't have happened overnight. It would have happened over the past 30 years. They're not in the workforce. So your productivity has gone for a toss. Work participation has gone for a toss. Your population has gone for a toss. And these are the fundamentals of labor economics.
Yeah. Manufacturing labor economies.
So where is the recovery going?
I'll take you back to that short episode, and I still remember it's about 13 minutes that we had done on the Chinese population crisis, where you and I tried to decipher that news that came out about the 0.048 growth over last year, which was equated to some 428,000 people grown in the past years. And we tried and figure out 0.48 is this much basic arithmetic. And we said 1.3 billion people at that time.
So the point is that the recovery of the economy, if it is on consumption, internal consumption, infrastructure, flats, everything is gone. And you also seen that, oh yeah, one more article which came out in the past 2 days, that the medical system of China is under strain.
Private hospitals are supposed to be
Private hospitals who have focused on COVID are sinking. Okay. It was always told that the medical system in China is very good in the cities, in the outside it is poor. That is one of the reasons why they went for this zero COVID policy, so that the countryside doesn't get affected and there's no mass communication transmission of this disease. Community transmission they wanted to avoid.
Okay.
Okay, but because they didn't have a healthcare system. But that same healthcare system, because of this zero COVID XYZ, has not been able to concentrate on normal healthcare, and they're going down. If your healthcare system is also going to go down and your people are going to get AIDS and there's no medical insurance, there's no social security, where is your system going?
They'll import robots from Japan.
This whole story is not played out.
Yeah, it's not.
Okay. All I know is what I wrote or what we discussed between the two of us, say 5, 6, 8 months back, is slowly coming true one by one in a diffused manner.
The order may not be the same, but it is happening.
Yeah, that's okay. What happens, we don't know. But the trend line, what is happening is very clear. I'm very clear about
BRI, we had said, it's going to become a problem.
There is going to be more problems coming in. Again, you ask, will China collapse? China won't collapse. 1.4 billion people won't collapse overnight and run off. They can't go over the face of the earth. They'll be there. There'll be some form of government, whether it is this fellow or whoever it is. The chances are he'll come back, because that's how the communist system is doing. But will they be the kind of force that they are have been in the past 2 decades? Doubtful. Will they get back to that powerful thing? Maybe after 20 years. Who knows? But they have to go through a lot of fundamental reforms. So there is a lot of things coming up ahead, which will keep both of us in business.
To close this wonderful discussion, sir, I actually read a small thread written by a professor of the Atlanta University. Is supposed to be a China watch. I'm sorry, I really forget his name. He said that the Chinese have lost 7 to 10 years of progress in the past 2 years.
Maybe possible.
I think
My
that's,
view is they've lost a decade. They've lost a generation. See, again, let me, as I'm talking, facts coming to me.
of course.
The expats are leaving in droves.
Even
People who
asylum
came
seekers.
from, huh?
Even asylum seekers have gone up by 20.
Asylum seekers are increased. Uh, People with money have going abroad. And someone gave me this part of WhatsApp. The number of people Chinese people settling in Canada has gone up. It has shot up in the past 2-3 months.
Canada, sir. Okay.
Canada. I mean, this is from Canada. Someone will come from somewhere else. Who knows? They might be even going to Zimbabwe. Who knows? Yeah, they have great relations with Zimbabwe.
Or probably
Right?
Pakistan, sir.
I think there's a lot to talk, and we'll take it forward in the next talk.
Absolutely. Till then, sir, I think we are coming close to the re-election as well. I think by about next month end, we will start seeing some politics playing out for that, along with this interesting economic scenario that is opening up. I'd request, I'll try and find those episodes and put the links in the description.
Yeah.
Request all of you to go back and see the prediction that we had made. We had done calculations about the population, the economy, and so on and so forth, and especially the COVID impact that the Chinese will have. It's like the rooster that has come home to hatch its egg again. Sir, thank you so much. And our China discussion under the China Watch will continue. Till then, Jai Hind, sir.
Jai Hind, and thank you.